Welcome to Headline News. Here are the top news stories making headlines.
Well, facing the most critical days of his 50-year political career, a defiant and motivated President Biden railed against a fast-growing number of Democrats and allies, calling for him to drop out of the race. Some of them reportedly wanted him out by this Friday. They had a day in mind. Biden fired off a letter to Democrats in Congress this morning saying he will stay in the race until the end. He then came out swinging. He actually called into MSNBC, called on his phone, and denounced the calls live, saying that the voters are behind him.
Welcome to The Beat. I'm Katie Fang, in for Ari Melber. We're still coming to terms with the fallout from Monday's Supreme Court decision vastly expanding the powers of the president. Trump seizing on the decision, which bolsters and, even worse, legally protects his worst impulses, while his allies tout the authoritarian future that they want to build if Trump wins again. Tonight, one of them raising alarms for saying the quiet part out loud.
We are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
That ominous warning was from Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, the right-wing think tank that created Project 2025, a 900-page extremist blueprint for a possible second Trump term.
I didn't know Manafort well. He wasn't with the campaign long.
I don't know Papadopoulos. I don't know him. I saw him sitting in one picture at a table with me. That's the only thing I know about him. I never met this woman. I never saw this woman.
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact.
I don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well. Seems like a nice guy, though.
Eventually, it happens to everybody. Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. Donald Trump's age-old, hardly knew him defense. When things get icky, sticky, Trump's suddenly a stranger to whoever it is in the crosshairs. He's barely met the person. He doesn't know anything about them. Never heard of them. That same defense popped up again over the weekend. This time, it wasn't a person who'd once worked for him, but to an entire radical agenda laid out by Trump's closest allies, which includes eliminating the Department of Education, criminalizing abortion medicine, and installing an army of loyalists to replace those serving in federal agencies. We've covered it on this program before. We're talking, of course, about Project 2025. It is a 900-page blueprint for the next Republican administration.
Former President Trump expected to announce his running mate a week from today. That's the report, at least. That would be the first day of the RNC. Senators J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ohio, Florida, respectively, at the center of those talks, according to reports. This as Trump's fundraising committee already inviting donors to events next week, featuring, quote, the nominee for vice president.
The Biden team now promises to stop supplying questions to members of the media after this embarrassing admission from a Philadelphia radio host over the weekend.
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved of them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Well, President Joe Biden heads to Pennsylvania today for campaign events as in-party pressure mounts for him to drop out. The 5th House Democrat, Representative Angie Craig, asking him to end his campaign. She joins Representatives Doggett, Grijalva, Moulton, and Quigley, who are publicly calling him out.
Well, now the campaign is facing new scrutiny for how it's handling Biden's media blitz. On First of All Saturday, Philadelphia radio host Andrea Lawful Sanders told me that Biden's team sent her a list of questions to pick from before interviewing the president. Well, late last night, a source familiar with the Biden campaign told CNN that while hosts have always been free to ask any questions, they'll no longer provide any suggested questions moving forward.
Here now to kick off our night of reaction to this historic interview is the anchor and executive editor of The Story right here on Fox News, Martha McCallum. Martha, the reactions pouring in. Katie Rogers at the New York Times saying that those in Biden's circle who watch this think it's enough to keep him in the fight for now. NBC reporting a little differently from a House Democrat. It made me sad, the House Democrat said, completely out of touch with reality, insulated from the truth. I'll be breaking my silence soon. Your thoughts?
I thought it was fascinating, Kaylee. It's great to be on with you tonight. You know, that first soundbite that you played, when I listened to it again, I tried again to put together the train of thought of what he was talking about. He said, I prepared like I do for foreign leaders. Then he went into a section on what the polls are. And then he finished by saying that former President Trump had lied a lot. So, I mean, I would have really liked for George Stephanopoulos to have said in that moment, I'm sorry, what did you mean by that?
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news, CNN has learned President Biden has privately acknowledged a series of critical tests are ahead in the next stretch of days. Those tests essential to determining whether he can stay in the race for the White House. CNN White House correspondent MJ Lee joining us now. MJ, what more are you learning?
Erica, what I am learning, and this is according to an ally of the president's who spoke with the president directly yesterday, is that the president has privately acknowledged that the next stretch of days are going to be so critical to the question of whether he can save his re-election campaign. The president, made clear to this ally in this conversation yesterday that he understands what circumstances would prompt him to basically accept it's just not working.
You've been closely watching this show and this network, and even on social media, you've probably heard of Project 2025, sometimes also called the Presidential Transition Project. It's a 900-page policy document put together by a bunch of conservative interest groups as a guide for how a second Trump administration can weaponize the federal government in pursuit of a, frankly, frighteningly authoritarian vision. It's also a wish list of a bunch of fringe far-right policy proposals that I think many voters would be really horrified to learn about. It seems like a lot of people are starting to pick up on the project and its proposals, thanks to warnings like this one from host Taraji B. Henson at this week's BET Awards.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to get your headline news.